Okay, so we're going to do a closer look. I've got a couple of Pedison bicycles here I'd like to look at. This is an interesting one because it's a very early bike. It's about turn of the century, 1901 maybe. But there's a few really, I think, interesting details on it. One of the things, if you like to pop around here, Anna, and have a look at the front of it, it's the handlebars, which of course is entirely unconventional. These on the early bikes were called cow horn handlebars. And I particularly like the structure and the tension it puts into this point, the visual tension, not physical tension. And I think it sort of accentuates the sort of the rudeness and the naughtiness of what he was doing, which was a bicycle made that was going to run entirely in compression and tension. And I'll run through the frame detail in a bit more detail
come round and
in a
get
second.
them from the front.
So you see from the front, they've got these lovely little head badges on them. This is quite nice. This bicycle, if you go around to the rear mudguard here, Anna, there's a lovely little transfer on here. So going back, I'm going to think probably about the 70s or 80s, there was a chap who had a very interesting collection. You can just see this here. See Southall, it was like, his name was Godwin Southall or something. And he put these transfers on everything. And every now and then one of his bicycles pops up for sale, or pops up, you know, in an old bicycle collection. And so that was at one point one of his bicycles. So quite an early bike, but what I particularly want to talk about is a later machine. So I'll pop the other bike onto the stand here so you can see what we're going to be talking about. Let's just chuck that back there.
I'm going to have a look at these lamps while you do that.
Right then. So this machine is, I think, quite special. It's a smaller machine. It's a size 3, I think, running on 26-inch by 1.5 inch tyres. The smaller machines present much better because they're not too leggy in the length of the framework. But if you look at the frame and you look at the way the frame has been made, obviously as you're sitting on the saddle, it stretches these two bars, so what we call that's in compression, sorry, that's in tension. And at the same time, it compresses this bar here. It pulls this backwards, which puts that into compression against the back. So the way the frame has been designed, when you really stop and analyze it, it is extremely interesting. So all the way through, all of the energies that are going through the frame, into the wheels, through the forks here, have all been triangulated. And the bit that's really genius about it is when you pull it all together. I think anyone who owns a Pedison bicycle, they need to pull it to pieces just so they can understand exactly how clever it is. You get back to the bare frame. The bare frame weighs 1.7, nearly 1.8 kilograms, and that's 1907. And this isn't a lightweight racing machine. Very, very, very thin fork, thin tubing, soft soldered joints, and that enabled them to produce something of this beauty and this strength. So there were a couple of joints that were silver soldered, but most of it was soft soldered. And you know, when you sort of sit back and look at it as a piece, it is a phenomenal bit of engineering. But then you have all these additional things to it that again add to the complexity and the beauty of it. You know, you've got inverted levers, so they're all lever bar ends. So the cabling runs up through here and then down into these tubes. I have on this thing, I've got part of the rear brake mechanism missing. I've got it, I just haven't fitted it. Again, what also brings this thing into some beauty, this originally was a nickel plated frame. They were often painted green or burgundy, but to get one of this in this condition is quite exceptional. I think you'd probably call it a gentleman's club racer or something like that. There's no sign that this ever had mudguards fitted, and you can see on the chain wheel here, simply because there was so much oil on the chain, I've cleaned it all up. It is beautifully it's retaining its original nickel plating. So everything you see on this bike is original. It's had a couple of modifications. The seat stays have been increased in size. I don't know why, but these were increased. You have this extraordinary hammock saddle. It's a knitted, if I turn it upside down, you can probably see it better there. So that was adjustable in tension with the leather strap here, and again could be adjusted up and down here. And the rear seat tube also slid up and down in this clamp here. That was exquisitely well made, and it's all indexed, because if you look at the inside here, and I don't know if you can see those little dents in there, where they're not dents, they're cut outs, and each one of those notches is indexed with these rods that come into this adjustable. So you go up one notch there, which equates to one notch there, so it could all be clumped up and down together. So it is an exquisite machine. It's light, it's got racing pedals on it. It's quite a beautiful thing. This machine has one of the pieces that in my younger days first of all drew me to Pedison, which is the gearbox. So at that point now we're looking at 1910. You've got gearboxes for, someone just popped in. So you've got gearboxes and gears for bicycles that have been made. So Sturmey Archer had these planetary gears. There were various different designs. Dear old Mr. Pedison wasn't having any of that, and he was going to make his own gearbox. So my entry into the Pedison was, I desperately wanted to get a Pedison because I wanted to get, I'll just try and turn this around a little bit.
Have a look at the gearbox.
Hang on a second, let's get that out of there so you can see the gearbox. So this is the Pedison gearbox, and it's a 3-speed gearbox, and it's kind of one of the most beautiful things I think I've ever touched. It's the engineering is phenomenal. It's so complex. He had to invent and produce the machinery just to be able to make the gearbox in the first place.
It's got a sort of clockwork.
It's clockwork indeed. It's a 3-speed gearbox, but it contains anything that a gear person would understand. So it's got a lay shaft, it's got a primary shaft, it's full ball bearing or roller bearing throughout it. So there's very little resistance in turning it. And that then gave you these 3 gears on a bicycle. So that was a real game changer at the time. The ironic part is, and this is what the works against it, the rear wheel in its entirety is the same weight as the frame.
Oh wow!
So you're carrying a bit of weight, but it gave you this additional gearing, and changed with this lovely little indexed gear changer here. Originally, this would have sat on the frame up here. I think it's been moved down here either because the cable has broken or because somebody's felt it was a better position to have the cable in. So entirely nickel. The interesting parts of it. The original bike, when it was new, had burgundy forks and a burgundy line on the middle of the rim, and then these would have been nickel plated rims. And again, it's got beaded edged tires on it. So yeah, the more you look at it, the more beautiful I think it becomes. It is one of the finest engineered machines I think of this period you're going to find. Utterly iconic, flawed for as many reasons as it was as good. You know, everyone can put it to pieces and tell you what's wrong with it and forget to tell you what's right with it. But it was the intelligence of a man who chose to go against what the norm said, and that enabled him to produce something as truly magnificent as that. If you ever get the chance to look at a Pedison made bicycle, go and sit down with it and spend some time, because they are utterly exquisite. So there we go. That is a Dursley Pedersen made by one of my proper heroes, Michael Pedison.
And some brilliant photographs of early bicycles in the gallery on our website.
Yeah, this isn't on the website yet. It will be. We've got a guy who does all our photographs. This will be photographed, so you'll be able to see there. If you've seen anything on the bike you want to ask questions about, please do. It is not meant as the definitive anything. It's me trying to just tell you about things that I love, and hopefully you'll enjoy watching it. If you see anything about here that again you have questions, just send us a message. We are aiming to do a video once a week on not just bicycles, it'll be cars or motorcycles, because we cover
early transport,
and or it could just be a thing. It could be a magneto. It could be, we are going to do one on lamps at some point. So there's all sorts of stuff we're going to cover, but today we have just spoken about a Pedison bicycle.